Ever since the Xbox Games Showcase back on the 7th of June, the entire gaming community has been riding an absolute wave of hype. The Gears of War E-Day trailer completely stole the show, seeing a young Marcus Phoenix hearing that familiar gritty tone and realising we're heading back to the brutal, desperate roots of the Locust War. It's exactly what we've all been begging for. But E-Day doesn't have a release date yet. Well, not exactly. We know it's a little while away. And while we're waiting, you're probably itching for that specific flavour of gaming, heavy metal armour, massive weapons, chunky movement and absolute carnage to keep us busy. Well, look no further than Warhammer 40k Space Marines 2. If you haven't picked this up yet, you're missing out on the closest relative to the classic Gears of War on the modern market. Today we're breaking down exactly why Space Marines 2 feels like a spiritual brother to Gears, from its brutal vibe to its nostalgic PvP and certain legendary game mode that birthed the whole genre. First, let's talk about the overall vibe and physics. Gears of War pioneered that heavy, satisfying, chunky movement. When Marcus Phoenix runs, you feel the weight of his armour. In Space Marines 2, it nails that exact same tactile feedback. You play as a genetically modified super soldier, encased in tons of ceramite armour. Every step has a thud, and every melee strike feels like it's an actual mass behind it. Now, there is one major mechanical difference. Space Marines don't take cover. In the lore, their faith is their shield, and mechanically you trade the Gears War bouncing cover system for a hyper-aggressive parry and dodge mechanic. But the rhythm of the combat remains identical. It is a seamless, brutal flow where you soften up enemies from a distance before charging in to perform a bloody close quarters execution to restore your shields. It scratches the exact same itch as landing a perfect active reload or executing a down but not out enemy. Of course, you can't talk about Gears without talking about the mode that it practically invented, Horde mode. Defending a fort with your buddies against impossible odds is peak cooperative gaming. Space Marines 2 features its own direct answer to this, known as Siege mode, and let me tell you, it captures the raw desperation of classic Gears Horde beautifully. Up to 3 players, or you can couple with bots, are dropped into a fortress sectors on the jungle planet of Kadaku. You aren't just fighting standard grunts, you are facing literal swarms of alien tyrannids and chaos forces climbing over walls and flooding the corridors. The progression is seamlessly tied to your main PvE classes, meaning all your hard-earned weapons, levels, perks are carried straight over. Thanks to the recent updates, the tactical depth has skyrocketed. You earn resources by surviving waves, which you then spend on requisitioned terminals to lock down the area. You can drop minefields, deploy tarantula sentry guns, fortify with explosive barrels, and even call in Imperial Guards reinforcements to build a defensive perimeter. Every 5 waves, the battlefield forces you to fall back to a completely new sector of the fortress, changing the environmental conditions and altering the dynamic of the fight. If you miss the sweat-inducing teamwork of surviving wave 50 in Gears, climbing the waves in Siege mode will give you that exact same adrenaline rush. Now let's talk about the PvP multiplayer, because this is where Space Marines 2 took me on a massive trip down memory lane. Modern multiplayer games are obsessed with hypermobility, slide cancelling and frantic pacing, but Space Marines 2 completely rejects that. Its PvP multiplayer feels like a glorious time capsule from the Xbox 360 era. It's an arena-style, team-based shooter, where position, raw aim and squad cohesion matters more than twitch reflexes. You choose from a distinct classes like the standard tactical marine, the bulky heavy with a massive shield, or the stealthy sniper. Because there are no crazy movement mechanics, the gunfights are gritty and prolonged. You have to commit to your positioning. It rewards the exact same skill set as the classic Gears match. Tracking enemies' movements, locking down lanes with heavy weapons, and knowing exactly when to pull out your melee weapon or the Nasher and go in for the final kill. It's chaotic, it's bloody, and most importantly, it feels fair and grounded. Look, Gears of War E-Day is going to be monumental when it finally drops, and I cannot wait for the release day of Gears of War E-Day. But You don't have to stare at a blank calendar for the next several months. Warhammer Space Marines 2 is out now. It delivers the exact same uncompromising hyper-masculinity and heavy armour frill ride that made us fall in love with the Delta Squad 20 years ago. Whether you want to grind out a gritty narrative campaign, hold the line against thousands of aliens in siege mode, or dominate an old school multiplayer arena, this game has your back. So grab your chainsaw, call your squad, and go give the enemies of mankind hell. Let me know in the comments if you've played Space Marines 2 yet and what your favourite class is for the siege mode. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more Gears of War shooter content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.